All right, we're live. I thought I had some beverage here. I don't. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna need some beverage. Tasty beverage. Got some water over here. All right. I'm zoomed in apparently. All right. So basically, I just got off a live with another fellow Nazyr. Nazyr Yonatan from Jerusalem. He had a really nice talk. He was critiquing a video that was shared with him about the oral law, and I thought it was an pretty interesting conversation. He critiqued a video, shared his own thoughts, and one of the things I really admire and love about Yonatan is he does a very good job being objective. I think he does a very excellent job entertaining other people who have different views or alternative views, and he does a very good job, in my mind, talking about those things in a very open, objective, and also using good discernment. And I think that's very admirable. And so I really want to just, I want to acknowledge that, give him a lot of respect. I personally tend to be a little bit more fiery, and I'm working on this. And so I think hopefully he'll rub off on me. Some of that kadavash, some of that davash, some of that honey to my fire. And this is, I think, the way it's supposed to work among brothers. That we spend time, we come together, and this process is effectively, if we come together and we find agreement, we find common ground. That common ground ultimately leads us to have belief, union, and then I believe that the next process through that stage of connection is peace, shalom. So first we have to agree, and in agreement we find the next word, emunah, belief or faith. Belief or faith is directly linked to agreement, right? How can I have, like, let's say a man and a woman come together, right? How do we have a connection if we can't agree, right? So the first thing is we have to have agreement. Shalom, shalom. I see a bunch of people are popping in. Welcome. My name is Nazir-Mash. I'm just talking about a video and a live that a fellow Nazyr from Yerushalayim or Jerusalem, Hebrew Nazarite, Yonatan, his conversation and his review of this discussion on whether or not the oral law is valid. So, talking a little bit about that and some of the things that we can discern through the Hebrew language. The Hebrew language is incredibly revealing. For example, the word Adam is often misinterpreted as man. Okay, in most English translations, the word Adam is translated as man. Adam, literally, I would say, from a literal interpretation, it would mean to be blood, but it's actually better interpreted as human. Okay, because this is the image of Yah on earth. This is the image of the Almighty on earth, and it says in the beginning, "Let us make Adam, him, male and female, in our image." So then we see that Adam is created, but Adam is created in this singleness, in this form of one. And then from Adam, we see woman is drawn out of his body. And where did Adam's body come from but the earth itself, the soil? So from the soil was Adam formed, given the breath of life, and then from with Adam was removed a part of him, which it says Elohim then formed Hua, not Eve, but Hua, woman. And now Hua does not mean woman in Hebrew. Hua is her name, just like Adam is the man's name. So after Hua, after woman is drawn out of Adam, he's called man. Well, man is fire. No. Mom wants to come up. You want to come up? Come on. Okay. So this is little mama. So after Adam, after woman is drawn out of Adam, he's called man, Aish. Okay. What's amazing about this is that Aish is the word fire plus yud. Okay. And then the word for woman is Aisha. This is little mama. Thank you. She's a good girl. I tell her all the time she's not a dog, she's a monkey. So check this out. If we take two aspects of fire, so on Shabbat, right, or on Sabbath, what we do is we take a fire, we create one fire, and then from that fire we create a second fire, right? Two flames. Well, this is a picture of man and woman. So you have one flame originally that represents the man, Aish, okay? And then from that fire we create the second fire, which is Aisha. So when we look at those words, we find something incredible. They're both three-letter words. And man is Elaf Yud Shin, and woman is Elaf Shin Che, okay? So if we take away the Elaf and the Shin, the common thing between both of them, we're left with Yah. So what we can see is that if you take Yah and you divide it, okay, the Yud comes down to create man, Aish, and the He comes down and becomes part of woman, Aisha. So that when woman and man come together, you have Yud and you have He, you have red plus blue, or blue plus red, which equals what? Purple. And all right, you gotta lay down, you're blocking me. All right, let's give you a belly rub. Come here. So the same pattern, okay, of red plus blue is the same pattern as the northern kingdom, which is called Israel. Well, purple is okay. I see Ron is asking, what is purple, may I ask? Purple represents the divine image, right? The union of these two aspects of masculine and feminine coming together to be one, which is a picture of the oneness of the Almighty, him, male and female. Okay, in the beginning you have the spirit. It says that in the beginning Elohim created heaven and earth, right? And then there was this she's got a flea on her. There was a we see that the ruach, the spirit, was hovering over the water. Okay, I would suggest that this is a pattern of the fire, truth over water, wisdom. Okay, and then what happens? It says that and Elohim said, "Let there be light," or Elaf Wo Resh. Elaf attached to Resh, the chief, the beginning attached to the head. The head. The Elaf is actually in the ancient form is the picture of a ox's head, which is a picture of authority, because an ox has these big horns, right? And so in the old world, the ox represented strength, right? And the horns represent authority. You don't want to mess with the ox's horns, right? Because they'll gore you. That's serious business. It's a sign of a crown, okay? So you have the ox's head attached to the resh, the ox attached to the resh. Resh is a picture of head or beginning, like the sun that comes up from the horizon in the day. The new day begins when the sun comes up. And so you have the head. So the ox's head in the beginning is a picture of, and it actually means literally the light. So the light is a child of the spirit, the truth, and wisdom. And then comes the light. He says, let there be light. So you could say that this light is the fruit that was spoken into existence. This is a picture of the masculine and the feminine coming together to produce the child. So in spiritual consciousness, we have three things, this pattern of three. It's always a triangle, okay? It's always a triangle. And the top of that triangle represents Elohim, and then it splits down and it becomes man and woman. And then man and a woman become one, and then they create another triangle, which produces a child. This picture of the three is also represented by Da'ath, which is knowledge, and then Hakama, which is wisdom. And the bridge between knowledge and wisdom is understanding. And so understanding in Hebrew is literally this word bina, okay? Beth, Nun, Yod, He, okay? So if we look at a permutation of that word bina, it's literally Yah and son. Yod, He being Nun. Well, who's the son? The son, the firstborn son, is, you're a good girl. Yeah, you're a good girl. The firstborn son is called Yisharel, okay? When Masha was sent to speak to the Pharaoh in Egypt, what is he told? He says, tell Pharaoh to let go of my firstborn son, all right? And he refers to us all throughout the writings, all throughout the Tanakh, the Torah, the prophets, and the writings, the Torah, the Navutim, and the Kavutim. He calls us in the singular form, which is also read in the plurality, my son. Ooh, my son Israel, or Yisharel. Okay? So now we have this body, right, of what, 12 tribes? All these different tribes that are still referred to as one name. Okay, this is revealing that we are unified by our name, by our identity. Like a man and a woman, they share what? A common surname. So they become one, right? The woman typically takes the husband's name and becomes part of him, and the two become one. So this is what it means to be a chad, to be as one. Okay? It doesn't mean that the two are the same persona. And this is where Christianity goes to the left because they don't understand spiritual language. So when Mashiach or Messiah said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, we are a chad, what he's actually saying, because we know that the Father itself is too great to be manifest. It's nothing, no image can be the Father, the source, because it's all a reflection of the source. So when Mashiach says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, what he's saying is you've seen the image of the Father. You've seen the nature of the Father in me. He's called the living Torah. Most Torahs are written on a dead sheepskin. Okay? That dead sheepskin is nothing without the breath of life. So how does the Torah, how does the sheepskin, how does the words written on the Torah come alive? They come alive when we eat it through our eyes and through our ears, through seeing it and through hearing it. And then what happens? It gets written on our heart. And as it's written on our heart then has the word established in the heart. This is literally, the word is called the sword. So it's that word that comes down into our heart that circumcises, that cuts away the hardness of our heart so that we humble ourselves to obey Yah. Okay? Masha said, you don't need someone to go to the heights of the heavens. You don't need someone to go to the depths of the sea, right? You just need, it's already in you. It's already in your mouth. It's already in you. Oh, I see Yonatan. Good night. Lila Tov. He said it's already in us, okay? So this is why I reject all this idea that Mashiach is going to, reveal all these esoteric, lost ideas. No, the most basic thing that Messiah is going to do is teach us brotherly love, which is loving each other as a father. And this is why I believe that traditionally you were restricted from studying Kabbalah if you weren't someone that understood Torah, if you weren't a man that was married, if you weren't a man that had children, because these all represented certain knowledge, bina, and it represented the fundamental growth process of wisdom realized in a man. And how can a man have the fullness? I know Yonatan is supposed to speak with someone that believes, this gentleman Yira Ha'ari is Mashiach. Okay, so okay. Mashiach, the one who I would believe is Mashiach, who has already come in the same pattern as Joshua, who went into the land first as a spy, and then returns as the conqueror. I believe that man has already come. We're not waiting for him right now. We're waiting for Eliyahu. So we're not looking we shouldn't be looking first for Mashiach in the end time, so to speak, in the rebirth of the nation, in the gathering of the remnant. We should be looking for Eliyahu, because Eliyahu, it says in Malachi, is going to come first. So if people are looking to someone as Mashiach before Eliyahu, they're in disorder. Okay? So it's Eliyahu that comes to establish the order. Then Mashiach will come as the conquering king. Okay? But what it actually says in the book of the prophet Zephaniah, it says exactly what's going to happen, and we're seeing it in the world today. Because Israel is acting outside of Torah, okay? Because Israel goes to the United Nations and claims the land based on the Abrahamic covenant, or the covenant of Abraham, but then in the land is ignoring the law of Moses, so to speak, which it says you shall not add to or remove, Devarim 4:2. Okay, it also says that in Shamuth, or Exodus 12:49, it says one law for the natural born and the sojourner, the one that lives among you as well. So you can't have two laws. You can't have a law for Israel, for Yehuda, for Ephraim, and then have a different law for the sojourner. It says one law. So when we depart from Torah, we bring either what? It says when we do it, according to Devarim 28, it says when you do these things, you will receive these 14 blessings. If you don't do these things, you're going to receive these 64 curses. So what happens when a secular government is claiming a right to the land by the Abrahamic covenant, but then ignores the law of Masha or Moses? Literally, it's bringing judgment on itself and the people. And this is my concern, because my concern is for my people. Okay, my concern is for my people. I don't want to see my people destroyed. I want to see my people, our people, blessed. And I know that this can only happen one way. It's the same way from the beginning. It's the same way at the beginning as it is at the end. If you take a circle and you start at the beginning, you go all the way around, you got to come back. The end is the beginning is the end. And what is the beginning and the end? Teshuvah. We have to turn, we have to repent, we have to confess ourselves. It was discussed tonight in the chat, in Brother Yonatan, Nazyr Yonatan's live his live session. It was discussed in the chat about whether or not Dude Malak or King David committed a sin taking Bathsheba. And some people will say, oh, he did no wrong, that was supposed to be the way it was. I would say strongly no. He did do wrong. Okay? He did do wrong. You can never say that to transgress the word of the Almighty is a good thing. Okay? Some people will say, well, then why did David eat the showbread? Okay. Transgressing the law itself is not going to be a good thing. The reason why that we see flexibility within the law is because the spirit of the law is greater than... That dog must be confused that you're talking to her, not maybe. The spirit of the law is greater than the word of the law, in the sense that the spirit, the source, is always greater than the fruit. Like the tree is always greater than the fruit, right? So the whole purpose of the written law, the whole purpose of the written law is to draw us into the spirit of the law. Right, Mama? Yeah, you agree? So some people would actually say that the physical is greater than the spiritual. How can this be? How can what comes from something else be greater than what it comes from? Okay? It's not possible. I can't be greater than my Father if my whole existence is connected to my Father. Like I wouldn't have a life, but if apart from my Father's life. He carried me around like literally in his balls before I was deposited in my mother's womb, and then I came forth and had life. So the source is always greater, the tree is always greater than the fruit, but the purpose of the fruit is either to nourish and or to become a tree itself. It has two purposes. And ultimately, if the fruit is eaten and consumed, it provides nourishment to that which it is consumed by, and ideally those seeds that were in the fruit go through the body and then come out and go into the earth and ultimately become forth a tree. Like I used to be an advocate for rhinoceros. I used to be called Rhino Surfer, and I had a conservation campaign called Respect the Horn. And Respect the Horn was about drawing attention to all the rhinos that were being killed for their horn. And this is like stupidity. This is like vanity. This is like literally stupidity. Because everything that's in the horn of a rhino is the same material that's in our fingernails and our toenails. It's called keratin. It's a protein. So these Asian cultures that want to buy a rhino horn and think that if they eat rhino horn they're going to get a big erection like a rhino horn, it's stupidity. It's like literally ignorance. And these rhinos are being massacred, right? Well, what I learned was that rhinos are actually, and animals are important in the grand scheme of like the wilderness, because they eat fruit, and then as they migrate around the land, they deposit these different seeds through their fecal matter, their waste, right? Their poop comes out, and in that poop is usually undigested seeds, and the poop itself we know is like fertilizer. So you get the seed that's dropped into the earth, and then it has this natural fertilizer with it, and then it becomes a tree or a bush or whatever the fruit was that the rhino ate. And so this is part of the natural order. But ultimately, the seed that comes from the fruit becomes the plant that it came from. And this is the same picture spiritually as man and woman from the Almighty. Right, Mama? Right? It's so basic. It's just all symbols. It's all symbols. And we have nature to look at that teach us these symbols, these patterns. Dog's alive. Mama, he wants to know if you're alive. Are you alive? Are you alive? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She's alive. She's just relaxed. She's just chill. So, now there's this whole concept, this whole discussion about the virgin birth. Okay? And this is a big controversy. Just like the resurrection of the dead is a big controversy. And in the old days, there were two sects within the land, within Israel and within Yehuda, the priesthood, better said. There were these two sects within the priesthood called the Sudakim, I believe is how you say it, Sadukim or Sudakim, and Parashim. And the common theme that divided them was whether or not the dead would be resurrected or not. So the Sudakim reportedly did not believe in the resurrection of the dead, but the Parashim believed in the resurrection of the dead. Okay? So that's a fundamental issue of disagreement. Now, for those people that don't understand why there would be a virgin birth, we have to go back again. We have to go back to the beginning. what happened in the beginning? Well, in the beginning, you had Adam, him, male and female, drawn out of the soil, created from the soil of the earth. And then that soil, that body that was formed out of the soil of the earth, out of the dust of the earth, then received the breath of life, and it became a living being. It became a reflection of the earth with the spirit above it. Okay, the heaven and the earth is literally Adam, human, is a picture of heaven and earth. We have, our bodies are literally what, 70% water, just like the amount of water that's on the ocean. If this is the most boring thing to you, then move on. It's no problem. This isn't for you. So if Adam is this picture of literally the heaven and the earth and the physical body, and out of Adam was drawn woman to be his helpmate. So now you have fire and fire, Yud and He, man and woman, divided into two. And then what happens? There's this whole thing that happens, right? The Nakash, the shiny one, the one that's called the serpent, the one that's called the dragon, comes and he deceives Hua, and he says, hey, if you eat of this tree, you know, she tempts her to eat of this tree, and she says, well, Elohim said not to eat of the tree and not to touch the tree. So that's a clue for us. For those that are actually interested, it's a clue, because if we go back to what Adam was told, he was told one thing. He was told not to eat of the tree. Okay? So then who told Hua, erroneously called Eve? That's never her name. It's not even what her name means. Her name is Hua. Some would say Chava. Who told Hua not to touch the tree? I would offer it was actually Adam. Because Adam received the instruction not to eat of the tree, and Hua wasn't there. And if you're a man or a woman, I'll just speak to men because I'm a man. If you're a man, right, and you see a beautiful woman, that beautiful woman can be a temptation, right? But now if you see her undressed, she can be even more of a temptation. Now let's say that you smell her. Okay, now you're interacting, your sensual aspects, you're sensing her, eyes, smell. Now let's say you touch her, or she touches you. Say she puts her hand on your hand, or her hand on your arm, or her hand on her face, right? Now all of a sudden your body starts to respond. You start to feel that fire, right? Even more so. So engaging our sensual filters, our eyes, our nose, our ears, our taste, our touch, these are all filters of how we process our reality. These are our sensual filters. There's 5 of them, just like the woman aspect of the woman is He. And then we have this internal sense, which is called the inner kingdom. That's our 6th sense, so to speak. So Adam, knowing that Hua wasn't there, it's my understanding, it's my belief that Adam actually told her, don't touch this tree, don't touch it, stay away from it. He gave her an additional boundary, which is ultimately what the rabbis do for the people. They create these additional boundaries, but they're told actually not to do that. They're told in Davarim 4:2, don't add to or take away, but they think they're doing good, but when they add all these extra boundaries, they create this cumbersome religion that then pushes people away, and nobody wants to do it unless you're, I would say, stuck in the knowledge space, and you're obtaining knowledge without understanding, so you don't have full wisdom, and that's stuck in ritual. That's stuck in practice versus application. The point is for us to receive knowledge, have understanding of it, so that we can then have wisdom. And if we don't have the bridge, if we don't have the understanding, that knowledge can never really become fully manifest into what it's supposed to be manifest, which is wisdom. So why does it make sense that there could possibly be a virgin birth? Well, if you go back to the beginning, after Hua, it says Hua was deceived. It never says that Adam was deceived, right? I mean, it just doesn't say that. It just says that she brought him the fruit, whatever this fruit is. He ate of it as well. She ate of it. I mean, if it was my woman and she came and brought me fruit, and now I know that she's cursed, what am I going to do? It's just me and her. Like, I'm probably going to eat the fruit. because I'm going to take whatever happened to her, I'm going to take it too. But ultimately, it says after this sin occurs, after this disobedience occurs, and Hua eats from the tree, and then Adam eats from the tree, these three beings, these three personas, these three entities, the Nakash, the woman, and the man, are all cursed. Okay, the Nakash is cursed to live on its belly and eat the dust. Okay, this is a symbol of the Hashatan being cursed down from heaven into a lower place, being cursed down into the earth, and having to be like on his belly on the earth and eat the dust, which, because he's lowered from the heavens. All right, this is spiritual language. A lot of people just get stuck with an actual snake, but that's a picture. It's actually a shiny one, and a snake is called the shiny one because if you look at a snake in the sunlight, it's usually its skin is like iridescent. It glistens, and it has like this distortion of light. It kind of creates this iridescent, this shininess. All right, so then what happens to the woman? The woman is cursed that she will have pain in her childbirth. Okay, so that's an unnatural thing that now women has to carry from this sin, this pain from the childbirth. And what happens to a woman every month if she's not impregnated, if her egg doesn't receive a seed, then literally death comes out of her every month. This period, this moon cycle, this blood, this death, okay, comes out of her every month. So that's a reminder of this curse. It's a reminder of this sin. Man is cursed and says, your curse is going to go onto the earth. Your curse is going to be that the earth will not yield its strength to you. You will have to work. You will have to use your strength to then bring forth from the sweat of your brow the strength of the earth. It's not just going to give itself to you anymore. It's not going to just be free. You're going to have to work for it. All right, so this is all, you have to have this all in proper context if you want to have the wisdom. If you want to have understanding, you have to have context. You have to have discernment. So it then says also that her desire will be for her man. Okay, what does that mean? A lot of people might think, well, it means that she's desiring her man. What I would suggest that it really means is that she desires his authority. Okay, because that's what ultimately happened when the serpent said, you can be like Elohim. A lot of people think that the Elohim that was being referred to was the Most High, the Creator. And I would say, no, the serpent was telling Hua that you can be like Adam. He was saying you could be like Adam, the one that you were drawn out of, the one that is your source. Just like the Almighty is our source as a man, woman, we were a woman's source. The Almighty ultimately created her out of us, but she came from us. So that means that we were our source to the woman. Okay, so now woman wants our position. She wants to be the head. She wants to run the show. And if you've ever dealt with a woman, a lot of times, they will use sex and affection as a means of manipulating a man to get what he wants. Many men have said, happy wife, happy life. You got to keep the woman happy if you want to be happy, right? So what is that suggesting? That's suggesting that the woman is unruly unless she gets what she wants. So this is the picture of that curse that's over a woman. She doesn't understand, unless she has a higher spiritual discernment, she doesn't understand that striving against her man is actually tearing herself down, that she's weakening herself, because her man is her strength. The man is her house. And the proverb says that a foolish woman a wise woman, it begins with a wise woman will build up her house, i.e. her man, but a foolish woman will tear it down with her own hands. So it says a foolish woman's going to tear her man down with her own hands. And that's a spiritual picture of words and actions. Those are our words and our actions are what we do. It's a function of action. We have our thoughts, but then our thoughts come out as words and actions. So a woman that's going to nag and nitpick her man and belittle her man, and try to, use all this negative influence to steer and have her man do what she wants or what she thinks is best. That's a picture of the curse of woman. That's a woman in her natural state. The woman that is elevated into her proper spiritual state represents that by honoring her man, she strengthens him. She fortifies him. She encourages him. A healthy word from a woman to her man. The man's got to go out and face the world. It's not an easy place for a man. The world is tough, right? So the man's going out into the world, facing the world. He's grinding. He's dealing with all the BS. He's dealing with all the stress, right? Then when he goes home, he's supposed to be going to his safe place. Even a woman's body, her breasts, her body are like soft, right? A woman's flower, it's soft. It accommodates the man. It receives the man. She's like his house, his safe place to go home to. But if he doesn't have a safe place to go home to, how can he rest? How can he rejuvenate? How can he be strengthened? Some of you trolls are just ridiculous. Yahuwah judge you for your profane mouth. So this concept of the woman, the seed of the woman in the beginning, it says that after these curses happen, it says that the seed of the woman, that the serpent will bite his heel, but the seed of the woman's that he will crush the head of the serpent. Okay, that he will crush the head of the serpent. So a woman doesn't have seed. So how is this possible? How is this possible? All right, I gotta block this fool. Let's see. Yeah, you're gone. See you later, creep. These trolls. All right, dealt with that. So, how is it that it says in Barashith in the beginning that the seed of a woman will crush the head of the serpent? How is that even possible if a woman doesn't have seed? It's the man that has seed. Okay, so now if we take a look at this pattern of what happened at the beginning and we think about patterns of nature balance, okay, because there is something to be said for symmetry and for balance. And so if in the beginning man was created and out of man was drawn woman, and then woman at that point was deceived and brought death into the world, okay, let's fast forward. What would be the inverse of that? How would you rectify that? How would you balance that out? Okay, so now the seed of the woman, the second Adam, because the first Adam was created from the soil, so the second Adam is created from the spirit, and the second Adam comes forth as this seed of woman. Now life is brought out of the woman, just like life was brought out of the man, and the seed of the woman becomes the anointed one that brings the truth to the world, the sword, the discernment, the truth that rectifies, that brings clarity to the Torah. He said, I didn't come to destroy the law or the prophets. He said, I came to fulfill, to do. And then he said that not one little part, not one yod or tittle, one jot or one tittle of the law shall pass away. And then he uses two witnesses: as long as heaven and earth are here, and until all is fulfilled or complete. And then he goes further that says that anyone that even reduces the least of these instructions, these commands, this law, will be called the least in heaven, but those that teach it will be called the greatest in heaven. So I would ask the question, how does that not fulfill exactly what Mashiach's purpose is to do? The purpose of Mashiach is tikkun, rectification. Now, men and women are always going to distort the truth, and that's exactly what's happened within Judaism, and that's exactly what's happened within Christianity. Christianity, if you have a common point in the middle, right? And now what has Christianity done? Christianity has said, oh, the law doesn't matter, like the law is done, that's what Messiah, it's all about Jesus, 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 right? But then they ignore what he said. They ignore his words entirely. So they take away, they say that the law doesn't matter anymore, that we don't have the law. Well, if you don't have the law, is it okay then to go commit murder, adultery, lie, cheat, steal? If you don't have a law, how, like the law is actually what tells us what sin is. Psalms 19 says that the law is perfect, it brings wisdom to the eyes. So if you don't have a law, how do you know what's right or wrong? It's a ridiculous concept. In fact, we're told in Proverbs 3:5-8, do not lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and then he will direct your path and make it straight. So it's the law that allows us to know what is sin. And what did Messiah say? Go and sin no more. Literally, go and sin no more. That means go obey the law. It literally means go be full of the law. Don't be lawless. Don't be a sinner, a lawless sinner. Go be lawful. Keep the law. Honor the law. It's life. It's literally the recipe of how we bring heaven to earth. Because we're not dying and going up to heaven. Heaven is coming down here to be one on earth, here established on earth. It's not, we don't just go up and be little angels floating in the sky. It's literally coming back here. The dead that are righteous are going to be resurrected for a judgment, and they're going to be judged according to their works. And there will be order in heaven. Not everybody's equal. Okay, there's going to be order in heaven. And then the ones that are called the lawless don't even get to stand in the judgment. They don't even get to stand in the judgment because they're destroyed. So this is how I would say that it makes sense that there's actually a virgin birth, because that would actually fulfill the prophecy in the beginning of the woman, the seed of the woman, crushing the head of the serpent. How do you crush the head of the serpent? You have to destroy falsehood. You have to destroy all forms of distortion. That's literally the purpose of Messiah, is to destroy the falsehood, destroy the false narrative, destroy the false belief, destroy the false traditions, to purify the Torah, which is done through fire. Water is wisdom, but purification happens both with water and fire, wisdom and truth. And so it's like Masha said, we don't need somebody, you don't need this, Kabbalist to go and discover all these lost, rituals and diagrams and, mysteries. That's not what this is all about. It's literally about loving our Creator, acknowledging what is greater than us, acknowledging what is right, honoring that, and then in honoring that, loving one another. Regardless of what color of our skin is, regardless of whether we're a man or a woman, regardless of whether we're circumcised or not circumcised, that we show love and respect to one another. This is the key. This is the kingdom of heaven. It's that simple. It's complicated because we make it complicated. These trolls that want to come in here and talk about, all kinds of nonsense, they're lost. They're literally walking dead zombies. They think that they rattle me. They don't rattle me. I already know that they're the dead. They're the damned. Literally, they are in the television show The Walking Dead. These trolls are the Walking Dead. They're mindless zombies. That's who these trolls are. mindless zombies, because they don't consider the higher matters. They're so in their flesh. They're so low that they're actually lower than animals, because they give up their divine nature, and they're lower than animals. So you little trolls out there, you don't bother me one bit. You don't influence me, you don't affect me one bit. I know what you are. And I feel sorry for you. I feel very sorry for you. Because I don't wish what's coming. I don't wish the judgment that's coming on anyone. I don't wish destruction on anyone. The Almighty himself, he's patient with us in humanity, because he literally doesn't want to see us destroyed. He wants to see us teshuvah. He wants to see us to repent. He wants to see us accept the higher nature of what we are intended for, and to walk in righteousness. He says, I love it literally says in Proverbs that he loves those that are seeking righteousness, because righteousness is the path. It's not just the destination that we obtain, that all of a sudden, no, I'm a righteous one. Righteousness happens every day. It's a process. It's admitting when we're wrong. It's making sacrifices when we see somebody in a need. It's studying. It's trying to refine ourselves. It's trying to be better. It's self-improvement. This is the process of righteousness. It says the righteous falls down 7 times but gets back up 7 times. Hallelujah. So no, you don't need to be a Kabbalist to come into the knowledge of the tree of life. You don't need all the dark mysteries. You don't need the key of Solomon, all these things. No, this is vanity. It's vanity. It's a trap. It's ego. Because what it is, it's a way for somebody to say, oh, look what I know. Look at this knowledge that I have, and I have all this knowledge and you don't have it, and therefore I'm greater than you. It literally says that the greatest among you is the one that serves. A servant. The one that's willing to do the job that nobody else wants to do. That's the greatest among you. Not the one that has the fancy outfit and puts on makeup and, wants to look a certain way and is so worried about their appearance. No, that's literally this vow. I used to be an executive in the world of real estate development. I knew when I took this vow that I was going to be looking like foolish, that nobody's going to want to hire me, like this Joker says, oh, Gandalf the Grey. Yeah, okay, I look like Gandalf the Grey. My daughter called me Radagast, the wizard, the brown wizard, the one that had the bird nest on his head with literally bird poop in his hair, and under his hat was a little nest of birds. That's probably more like what I am versus Gandalf the Grey. I'm probably more like Radagast. So my question to people who would deny the virgin birth, the potential of the virgin birth, my question to them would be, please explain to me what the seed of woman is. What's the seed of woman? The entire body of Israel is called Yisrael. It's an anointed body, but every body has to have a head, and that head is actually Mashiach. The head, meaning the authority, the governing body, is Mashiach, Messiah. The rest of us are called Yisrael. You shall not pass. That's so funny. Yeah, that's come up a couple times tonight. You shall not pass. I need my little wood cane. We can do a little reenactment, right? That's that scene of Gandalf on the bridge is actually a very powerful scene. Because look at what that little man was standing up against, that huge demonic giant, right? He was literally standing on that bridge, and he had this staff, which is a symbol of authority. Goes all the way back to the shepherd's staff. In Hebrew, it's called lamad. It's a staff. And he holds up his staff, right? And he's like, boom, you shall not pass. And what happens? All this light comes out of the staff, right? And it's the light that's holding back this creature. You shall not pass. There, I said it. It's also interesting that Gandalf goes from being Gandalf the Grey to being Gandalf the White, because Grey is a mixture of good and evil, right? And then when he dies, he comes back as Gandalf the White. So it's a picture of him being refined, and anything that was kind of still impure with him being purified, because ultimately, what did he do? What did Gandalf do? He was neutral, but then he gave his life, right? He gave his life for his friends. He laid his life down. That's literally right out of the Bible, that there's no greater love than for a man to lay his life down for his friends or for his brother. So Gandalf literally stood there alone, put his staff in the ground, told this huge demon, this ancient demon monster, "You shall not pass." And then that thing, like, the bridge cracked and it falls, and then it sends his whip up and it grabs him and it pulls him down with him, right? Because evil wants to drag you down with it. And so they fall down and they're battling, and poof, like they're battling, and then they come down to the bottom. And so Gandalf, like, literally, he sacrifices himself. He's not like doing some weird ritual. He just literally puts himself between the evil and his friends. And because of this beautiful act of selfless love for his friends and protecting his friends, I would say that's why he comes back as Gandalf the White. Because he laid his life down. He gave up his life and he defeated the evil. And it's a beautiful picture of what we are called to do as men for one another. That we love one another. We give up. Like, if you're a parent, if you're a father, and you have your child, it's a much easier decision to, like, lay your life down, to put yourself in between danger, than, necessarily a stranger that you don't even know, is that a good person or a bad person. But in the heat of the moment, yes. All right, whoever this is, I got to give you a shout out. Dahaf. Is that a German name? Stand for the weak. You, sir, or woman, I don't know if you're a man or a woman. For some reason, I feel like you're a man. You, sir, get it. Did I get that right? Dahaf is German as well? You get it. Stand for the weak, right? Jason. Oh, hey, nice to meet you, Jason. Jason actually means healing. As far as I understand, in Greek, that word Jason, it means healing. So that's a very powerful name. In Hebrew, it's Rapha. And there's one of the principal angels is called Raphael, healing of Yah. You get it. Defend the weak. Yeah, you're from Munich. Hello, I see another one. J Bat. Hello. So you're all the way over in Munich. Man, I love the fact that I'm sitting here and I'm talking about, like, all this esoteric, Hebrew and these spiritual concepts, and you just come and you bottom line it, Jason, and you just spoke something very profound. And I will say that the most advanced language is the most simple way to say something, right? And you just said it so simply and so beautifully. You said, defend the weak. That is the key. If you're the person that's in the position of strength, like if I'm here and I have a child, or, like if a dog's trying to attack my little dog, a bigger dog, like, what am I going to do? I'm going to try to help. I'm going to try to defend that which is weak. So you, sir, have my respect, because that is so eloquently and beautifully said. And that is the bottom line, that we should defend the weak. And I think this is one of the reasons that the concept of superheroes is so appealing to us, because we see these humans that have these power, and then they take this power. Some of them become villains, and they take that power to use it for their own strength, and they actually hurt people, right? And then the opposite of that are the superheroes that take their powers to help protect the people. And so we as human beings, we see this kind of battle between good and evil, and we're drawn to it. We're drawn to it, but ultimately we need to respond to it ourselves. And that's when we feel alive. We feel alive. It's, we live when we give. It's better to give than to receive, but ultimately we need to give and to receive. Templars or Templars, Hospitallars, I'm not really sure. Are you referring to the Templars like the kind of warrior priests of the past that were like trying to pursue like the spiritual mysteries? Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately what happens historically, I think that these groups have started out good, but what tends to happen is they get infiltrated. The way that the adversary works, the way that the one that's called the Hashatan, the way that he works, and the way that those that follow him, so to speak, or follow his ways, the way that they work, they come through the back door, so to speak. Like in the beginning in the garden, right? The serpent one went to the woman. She wasn't there. She didn't receive the knowledge firsthand. So he went. They go through the weakest. They go through the path of the least resistance to get to the man. Because ultimately they want to destroy. The adversary wants to destroy the image of the Creator, because the way that this whole story goes is that the one that's called the Hashatan, he was actually the most beautiful of all the angels, so to speak. He was adorned with all of these gems that when the light hit him, it was like all this crazy beautiful light came off of him. And he also had the power of music, which is why we see Hollywood uses what? Light. Hollywood uses light and sound. They use image of film to program, and they use sound. Okay, music. That's how they program people. That's how they distort people. That's how they plant their seeds of distortion and corruption, is through light and through sound. So he was so beautiful, and he was made in a certain way to give glory back to the Creator. But then what he, in his thoughts, down in his heart, the Almighty heard him say that he was going to sit as the Almighty himself, that he was going to sit in this seat. He was going to sit in the seat of his Creator, which is the same sin that he brought to the woman, that then thought, oh, I can be as the man. I can be the man. Right? And so it's this pattern of not recognizing what is greater than you. So as a man, I have to recognize that if I don't humble myself to concepts, to a power that's greater than me, if I make myself my own God, then I'm going to bring destruction into the world and into my own life, because I'm out of order. And in the same way, when a woman doesn't acknowledge a man, and I'm not saying that all men are right, because a lot of men don't act like men, and that's wrong too. That's a distortion also. Two wrongs never make a right. I'm just speaking to the natural order of things. Okay, like this picture, when you have the fire and the water in balance, it creates a picture that ultimately reflects 12 tribes. It reflects a union. Sounds like these super liberals. Yeah, I mean, the super liberals, this is what's happening, right? You have Enoch Burke in Ireland being arrested for refusing to call a boy a girl. Like, this is insanity, you know? A man is a man and a woman is a woman. Like, you're either born with a set of balls. Like, I think that there are some Aphrodites that are born, right? But these are somehow distorted, what's the right word? Deviations, or they're anomalies. That's the right word. They're anomalies. They don't reflect the natural order. So anomalies do happen. And probably anomalies happen, exceptions. Yes, exceptions happen because of some distortion that comes in, right? So we'll have something like, let's say at the beginning, everything was made perfect, but then falsehood came in. And so falsehood creates a distorted vision. And then when we have a distorted vision, we can't make decisions correctly, right? Like right now, I only have one good eye. So that affects my my sense of three dimension. Without having two good eyes, my sense of like spatial recognition can be off. And I realized I had a problem with my eye actually playing ping pong, and I was having trouble, like I was missing the ball, and I was like, what's going on? And then I started closing one eye and closing the other. I noticed that when I closed this eye, the room was lighter, and if I closed this eye, the room was darker. And I realized I had a distortion on my left eye that was affecting my vision. Okay, so these things called distortions affect the natural order. So we have, in order to see clearly, we have to remove the distorted views. And what the left is doing, the left is distorting like the natural order. They want to say that a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man, and you know there's all these different genders, and they want it, it's confusion. And then our children start getting programmed like this, and they get confused, you know. And it's natural, to be honest with you, for there to be some confusion for children when they're little. You know, I can remember being little and like thinking that I should have been a girl, and I wanted to sit down on the toilet for a while. And then the crazy thing is, my mom actually painted my fingernails, and I had to go to school one day with my fingernails painted like a girl. And I was like horrified. I was embarrassed. And like that, just, I never wanted to be a girl again. You know, I was happy to be a boy. You know, but some people would hear me tell that story and they would try to like literally say shit about me, you know? And I think that this is a natural thing of when we're a child. You know, they say that there's a natural thing where a girl has like a special relationship with her father, and a son has a special relationship with his mother. And that's because opposites attract to a degree. It doesn't mean that there's something perverted there. The perversion comes when there's a really sick distortion, and then a father will molest his children, or a mother will do something crazy to their children. Like, this is a complete evil distortion. You know, it's like who does that? Like, that's your own children. You're supposed to protect them. You're supposed to guard them, but you're actually abusing them. Like, that is like the worst evil. It's the worst evil. Somebody just said, so Jason just said, life is a journey that needs guidance, not confusion. Well said. Well said. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And actually, what's interesting, in the Bible, the word religion never appears. It's called the instructions. There are commands like do not murder. Like, that's a command, okay? There's 10 commands. You just don't do these things. And if you do these things, you're supposed to die, because it's so bad that if you do these things, you're going to corrupt humanity. You're going to pollute humanity, all right? So those are called the 10 commands. These are like written on stone. You don't do it. Like, that's it. You don't do it. Then there's what's called the instructions, okay? And these instructions are guidelines. Why do we have guidelines? Well, a loving parent is going to give their children instructions. Like, the first time a mom and her dad goes away and they leave their children home alone, do you think they just go away and don't give them some instructions? That would be like really reckless parenting. No, you're going to say like, okay, you don't answer the door if a stranger comes, or, you know, you make sure that you turn the stove off. You don't leave the kitchen with the stove on, you know, like basic things just to help protect the child, so that they learn these common sense things, until the common sense is something you don't have to think about. But ultimately, until you learn it, common sense isn't necessarily common sense. I remember when I was a kid, one of the first times I was home alone with my sister, and my parents had just purchased a brand new microwave. And this is before, obviously, we knew that microwaves are not good. We had this microwave popcorn. And I was probably, I don't know, 12 years old. My sister was like 9 years old. And I remember we were going to make popcorn, and we were in the kitchen together, and we made the popcorn. And, you know, sometimes when you do microwave popcorn, after you dump out the popcorn out of the bag, there's still some more kernels in the bag. Well, my sister, for whatever reason, wanted to re-pop the kernels, and I told her not to do it. I said, just don't do that. Just leave it be. Let's just eat the popcorn. So then, what does my sister do? When I leave the kitchen, she goes behind my back. Hello, Adam. She goes behind my back, and all of a sudden I hear this screaming from the kitchen, like, "Ah, fire!" You know, she's in distress. So I come running. I'm her big brother, and what do I find? But I find the microwave completely on fire. Like literally, the microwave is on fire. There's sparks going on. There's a fire inside the microwave. I open it up. I see that she put the microwave bag back in there, and I can't remember how I put the fire out. I don't know if I splashed water in there or if I grabbed like a. I don't even remember if I took like a cooking glove or mitt or what. I don't remember how I put it out. I might have splashed water in it, but when I remember that after the fire was out, like the whole inside of the microwave was completely like black from like the smoke and stuff from this fire. What my sister had done was she took this bag of popcorn and she wrapped it back up, and then she went and took a clothespin and put a clothespin on it to keep it closed. But she didn't know that if you put metal into the microwave, it's going to spark. It was one of these old-fashioned wooden clothespins with the metal springs on it, right? So she put like the perfect ingredients for a fire together. She put the bag of popcorn with hot oil, butter in there, which is like hot oil. She put the wood on the clothespin, the paper, and then the metal to spark it. It's like all the perfect ingredients for a fire. And so she didn't listen, and she created a fire. The crazy thing is that when my mom and dad came home and I cleaned up the mess, I scrubbed down the microwave, but then I told my parents I wasn't even sure if the microwave was going to work. I told my parents what had happened, and my sister literally denied doing it. Like literally denied doing it at all. And I tell you, that really affected me at 12 years old. That affected me with my relationship with my sister. She severed something between us. She severed something between us because she lied. But not only did she lie, by saying that she didn't do it, she was also indirectly blaming me, right? The guy in the painting that's just an old painting. When I was a child, this painting of a man praying was in my house, and then I saw that at a thrift store one time and I bought it. So I don't know who the guy is. It's just kind of a famous painting of a guy having like some bread with some soup. He doesn't have a lot to eat, but he's thankful. I think the point of the picture is that he's just got a very simple meal, but he's thankful. So this whole story with my sister is that not only did she then deny and didn't take responsibility for what she did, by denying it, she ultimately blamed it on me as well. And that really affected our relationship. And to this day, we don't have a very good relationship. Not because I don't want it. Literally, she doesn't talk to me because she demands, she demands that I have to cater to what she thinks is appropriate for our relationship. And she doesn't honor me as her older brother. She didn't honor me then, and she doesn't honor me now. And so we don't have a relationship, which is really sad because I love her. Anyway, I'm tired. I just talked for over an hour, and I don't know, people have come and gone, but this will be saved on the channel. Ultimately, this was about some of the patterns that we see in life between men and women, tied in some of the aspects of the Hebrew language. You too, Jason. Hey, man, I really appreciate your input. I think you really made some great points, even if it was a few of them. I really appreciate your input, and I really, really like how you bottom lined it to talk about protecting the weaker, that this is our responsibility as humans, that if we just have that kind of basic rule of thumb, that we protect that which is, that the stronger protects that which is weaker, that's like a very easy guideline for us to follow as human beings. Like, you don't need religion for that. It's just like a basic principle that applies, and it applies in the animal kingdom. It applies in the human kingdom. Wolves. It's amazing, as I understand wolves. I don't know that this is factual, but I'll just end on this note, that wolves, when they travel as a pack, yeah, you're in your 40s. Okay, I'm in my 50s. In your 40s is good. That's when, I think that's when we kind of, as men, become like a good wine. We've had enough time in the barrel, so to speak, that our flavors start to come out. So cheers to you, man. 40 is a significant number to obtain as a man. The wolf is your animal. Very cool. So you'll appreciate this. You probably already know this. So when the wolves walk as a pack, when they travel as a pack, as I understand it, the oldest wolves go first, then kind of like like the rest of the pack follows, so that the oldest wolves are setting the pace, right? Because they're older, and so they're the ones that set the pace. And then the alpha actually travels at the back of the pack. He protects the rear guard, but also from walking behind, he's able to look ahead and see kind of everything that's going on, right? So he's looking ahead, and he's putting himself in the back where his blind spot is his rear end. So he's actually putting himself in a vulnerable position where he, can't see what's behind him, but he's looking at the whole pack to protect the pack. And I thought that was a really powerful life lesson from nature. And it's actually what the Most High says to Abraham. He says to walk before me in the same manner that the lesser walks before the greater, that the greater is behind, looking out, protecting your back, and walking behind you. So I think that's a great place to end. And big shout out to Jason DeHoff over in Munich, Germany. I applaud you. Thank you for your contributions tonight. Thank you for stopping in. Thank you all for who stopped in. And I just want to say a blessing. I'm going to say a blessing over you. This is what's called the Aaronic blessing. Okay, and effectively, I'm going to just say it in simple terms. May the Almighty shine His face upon you in favor and in mercy. Always be blessed. And then we tend to do the sign. This is the letter Sheen, which is teeth or fire, refinement. Sometimes we do this. It's the same thing. Okay, so I bless you. If you've seen this tonight, I bless you with my peace. I bless you with His peace. Those that came here respectfully, and those that came disrespectfully, I shake the dust of my feet off on your doorstep. Woe to you who call good evil and evil good. Blessings, love and respect always. Shalom, shalom.